going to call the regular board meeting of the Board Mayor and Alderman together for Tuesday, March the 12th, 2013. We'll start out with an invocation by Alderman Barnhill. Followed by that, I will lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll all stand, please. Bow your heads.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer, thanking you for this day and for this opportunity that we have as citizens of this great nation and this truly blessed country. We know that the freedoms that we have are freedoms that come through you. We give you thanks for them. We also ask that you be with each of us tonight as we make decisions that ultimately affect the citizens of Franklin and the direction in which Franklin will be going. Give us spiritual wisdom and guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, grievances or statements from citizens. Citizen comments open for Franklin citizens to be heard on items not included on this agenda. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this body? I see no one. We'll move on to item 5, communication from Williamson County Mayor and Williamson County Commission. I see no one here. We'll move on to item number 6, approval of minutes, February 26, 2013 work session, February 26, 2013 Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 7, are there any recognitions tonight? See none. Number 8, miscellaneous reports. Are there any?
Mr. Mayor, I have an announcement.
Okay.
It was just posted on our city website today. Love Your Neighborhood. This is an event scheduled from the Housing Commission with the Franklin Hill Estate community. The City of Franklin, in partnership with the Housing Commission, is hosting Love Your Neighborhood Day on April 6th this year in the Hill Estate neighborhood off of Liberty Pike. The intent of this event is to offer an opportunity for the neighborhood to participate in a cleanup effort assisted by volunteers. The day will include dissemination of information regarding city services. Included will be free smoke detectors, recycling information and bagging, the TVA and Middleton's electric rebates, and helpful household information packet. If anyone is interested in volunteering, please call Laura Tracy with the Community Housing Partnership. The event will begin with volunteers registering at 7:30 in the morning on April 6th. The cleanup will begin from 8 until 1 o'clock. This event is the first of many community awareness events the City Housing Commission will organize. The commission goal is to promote 2 neighborhood cleanups per year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman.
Mr. Mayor, just wanted to report we will have a little get-together this Saturday evening with the board and with your colleagues on the Board of County Commissioners. It's an informal get-together. We're going to have a meeting at the Eastern Flank Battlefield. I shouldn't call it a meeting. It's really just breaking bread together and getting a chance to socialize outside of our work responsibilities and to meet with our colleagues in local government. So be a little bit of a fish fry out there and an opportunity to just be together with those folks. So just that's 5:30 this Saturday.
Thank you. Okay. Number 9, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. They will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. The items on the consent agenda will not be discussed tonight. We're considering items number 15 through 18. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
And second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 10, Consideration ordinance 2012-60, an ordinance to amend the City of Franklin Municipal Code, Title 16, Chapter 1, relative to sale of goods and wares in the public right-of-way.
I make a motion
Alderman Berger.
to adopt ordinance as written, which is option 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Appropriate motion, second. Discussion. Alderman Berger.
We had a lengthy discussion at 5 o'clock. And I know there's probably people here now and watching at home maybe that didn't see that at 5. But I'm not going to go into everything I said, and I'm sure we all aren't going to go into everything that was said there. And to keep it very short and to the point, we did have some speakers that came up, and they spoke about helping people. It's great, absolutely, have no argument there. They spoke about some wonderful things, but they didn't speak to the issue. They missed the entire issue. We are here to speak about safety in our streets and about opening up Pandora's box to allow people to come on our streets. And even if we have them limited to the sidewalks, we're going to have an issue. You cannot limit it to one. This is not about the contributor. This is not limiting it to one, unless you want to be selective and do so. I don't know if we can do that. But we already had several out there selling publications this week and last week. So we've already had 3 organizations, 3 sets of individuals from different organizations. I believe one was out of Florida, according to the police, when I called them and asked them to please identify these people on McEwen and Mallory. So when we have 2 and 5, and we have 10 people or 15 people on the sidewalks selling publications, we're going to have an issue. Now, some of you all want to give this a try, and I understand that. I mean, I certainly do understand that, because I went to the contributor and I spoke with them, and Brent, when you came out and spoke, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was encouraged because why not? They're doing some great things. But I have to do my job, and my job says you got to put that hat on and you've got to make some hard decisions, and it's really difficult. Because if I didn't have to contend with these issues, go at it. But some people got up and they spoke, and they said, in the last month, they said we still, option 2, if we picked option 2, it still does not address the sales between individuals and moving vehicles. And our police chief sat here tonight and talked about reasonable and safe. And he said anytime you have interaction with individuals and moving vehicles, it's not reasonable and it's not safe. I hope we all understand that. The contributors said they'd try to monitor more, and that's great. I hope they do. 8 hours a week is probably not enough to monitor. I'm sure they have to go other places besides Franklin, but I'm glad to hear that they said that. Then a lady got up and spoke, and she said she's happy to have the opportunity to be able to recognize these people, and it's powerful and symbolic. Franklin needs to support people who are digging out from under. I feel good when I buy this thing, she said. Cities need to step up and recognize the homeless. Well, she wasn't speaking to the issue again. That's the problem. We're not speaking to the issue. And when we get off on these tangents about all these things that I totally agree with, I'm not arguing with our support of the homeless, but when she said we need to, as a city, step up and recognize the homeless, do we understand anything about jurisdiction of government? Citizens of our city need to step up, and they do. And when that person sat here and said that tonight, I thought it was an insult to the rest of the people in Franklin, because I've lived many places, and this is the only community I've lived in that incredibly just gives of their money and their time to every single organization, nonprofit that I've ever been involved with. I cannot believe how incredible this city is. So she said it's having them here as a gift. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. Absolutely. But it's not about the contributor. It's not about feelings, and that's what she and other people were talking about, feelings. We don't want to be branded like Brentwood. Well, Brentwood probably, you know, are we talking about we're wealthy so we don't want to see the homeless? A lot of people accused us of that. But that's not the issue. Brentwood and Franklin both are trying to address safety issues here. And that's what I'm speaking about tonight. It's what my constituents have been telling me, and that's why I feel we need to go with the ordinance as written. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Martin.
As I said before, in Ward 4, most of the homes are on the street, right on the street, right on the sidewalk. And I think it's wonderful that Green Hills and Nashville and Belmead have embraced the vendors. That means they have lots of places to sell. But neighborhoods really that are right on the street are a little bit different. And that is the reason for my vote tonight. And, you know, I'm just happy that that there are some people who do not mind vendors in their front doors. But in my neighborhood, in my ward, I've gotten lots of requests to support the ordinance as it stands. So that will be my vote.
Alderman Skinner.
Mr. Mayor, you know, we've talked about this for months now, but I think option 2 represents something that we can at least try. We don't have to just completely go cold turkey on this, that it's worth a try. And as Alderman McClendon recommended, maybe we get a report back from the police department, say in the next 90 days, about how many citations they've had to write or warnings and so forth. I think given the opportunity, these sales will be much safer. We'll find that once there is enforcement, that they'll realize what the concerns are of the city. And I would hate for us to just completely ban this and not try something that's somewhere in between.
The hard decision that I would be making tonight is one that deals more with the compromise, and Alderman Skinner, I think you might have hit up on that. So as I spoke earlier at the 5 o'clock, I think it's important for us to, at least for me, to allow an opportunity for this to go forward in a limited time frame with the enforcement, and to bring it back to us within a identified time frame to see how it's doing, to see how people are complying to the expectation. I too agree that there are folks within our community who do not want this and do not see an advantage of this, no matter what the category is. And I also know that there's folks in this community who look forward to this. So a compromise would be, everybody doesn't live in certain people's neighborhood. Everybody doesn't live in one ward. So there's folks all over this town with different opinions. So I'm willing to look at a compromise in some fashion.
And if I understand the motion that Alderman Berger made, her motion is to adopt the ordinance as originally proposed without any amendments.
Right.
So are there any,
Isn't that the ordinance that we have now?
Yes.
No, it is not.
Well,
this is
No,
a
it
new
is
ordinance.
It is a new
It's-
ordinance.
Have an
it's-
ordinance.
that.
We have an
with
ordinance that
addition.
restricts it entirely.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This ordinance as drafted allows it, sales on the sidewalk, not in the roadway. This is a change from the existing ordinance that does provide the ability to sell publications, non-commercial speech, but publications on the sidewalk, but not in the roadway.
Well, wait, then that's going to change things. Alderman
This
Burton.
allow-
Okay.
If I can
Public sidewalks,
clarify,
not on the public sidewalks.
the ordinance that was proposed to us allows sales from the sidewalk, but the sale actually has to be completed someplace other than the right of way.
On the side, yeah,
Not to the cars.
Not to the cars.
Yeah.
not in the roadway.
So-
No transactions in the roadway.
Not to the cars.
Not- So, is everybody clear what the motion is?
They
We're
can-
not,
That we're
she's
not-
basically not going with option 2, which is where
It's
we were
option
headed.
one.
Thank
It's
you.
option
Option
That's the
one,
best.
you can sell, you can't sell to the cars.
Okay, so you're not taking away, this particular recommendation is, you're not taking away the option of someone pulling off on the side into a parking lot.
Not in residential. You
business.
could do that.
Any other comments?
I just want to vote against it, period.
Ms. Rand, may I speak to that issue with Alderman Martin?
Yes.
Alderman Martin, if you're concerned about the sales in residential areas, you can make an amendment that restricts
I
sales.
don't think I can. I don't think I can. I think that's not legal.
The
Yeah,
amendment is
because-
not
Wouldn't
legal?
recommend it.
Pardon?
I would not recommend that.
No, I'm
But
not
that's-
going to do
that's
that.
your call.
Right.
I'm not
I
going to do
wouldn't
that.
recommend
Okay.
it
Just-
for the reasons
saying.
cited in our discussion.
Any
Right.
other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion fails.
Wait a minute. I didn't vote.
Let's have a hand vote then. All in favor of the motion, say, raise your hand. I have 3, 4 against. I have 4 against. So the motion fails.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt option 2 and also include the recommendation of staff to, do I have to read this paragraph?
Yeah.
Or can I just refer it
You
by?
Sure. So people know
The-
what you're saying.
Okay, strike paragraph C1 and add to the end of the current paragraph, C2, the following language, except that such materials may be handed to the occupant of any motor vehicle through the passenger side of a stopped vehicles in the lane adjacent to the sidewalk, but only at such intersections that are not yield controlled or do not have continuous protected right turn. Transactions shall not be permitted within the controlled access area of the interstate, including on-ramps and off-ramps, and renumber the paragraphs accordingly. I would also ask that we get a report in 90 days from the police department on the number of citations and warnings that have been issued for violations of this.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second, hang it out. Appropriate motion, second. Any discussion? Vice Mayor.
Well, I'm going to take a leap of faith and support this iteration of the ordinance. But I want it to be clear that, in my view, this is a very short leash, because I frankly am not optimistic that we're going to get much compliance. And if that's what happens, then I'll come back here and I'll support an outright ban. Because my first responsibility is not to the economic well-being of a small number of people. My first responsibility is to the safety of all, and that includes the vendors. And even under this ordinance, there is risk posed by what we're allowing if we pass this. There is risk not only to the vendors, but to the people who want to do business with them, and to people who have no interest in doing business with them. And I've struggled with this for a while because I have a hard time understanding why I would allow people who have no interest in a commercial transaction to be placed at risk by the event. So when I say a short leash, I mean a very short leash. If we're not going to get compliance from people who've pledged it, if we're not going to get compliance from people who we are going out of our way to accommodate, then we'll just do without it. And, you know, I don't think, I mean, I'm certain that the vendors, they don't have a right to do this. I'm happy for vendors to be able to make a living. But make no mistake, there are alternatives that we can offer. Now, they may not be the way that the contributor vendors have previously done things, but we can allow those vendors to come to City Hall and get door-to-door sales permits. We can allow those vendors to set up to set up news racks. We can do a lot of alternatives, none of which the vendors want. If the vendors want to be able to stand on the sidewalks and sell to passing motorists, then we're going to need strict compliance, because otherwise it becomes very clear to me that the danger presented by the activity outweighs by a lot, the social and economic benefits. So I say, I'm going to take a leap of faith here and hope that the stakeholders will police themselves and make this, and make me not regret this. Because quite honestly, I'm very conflicted and I don't have a great feeling about this. I'm not thrilled about asking our police officers to go from, to become the face of Franklin enforcement on this. Hopefully, we will have widespread compliance starting tomorrow, but I will be watching.
Do you want to make a comment?
To the amendment, yeah. Just remember that if you vote on this, that you've not answered or even addressed the issue. We already have 3 vendors out there now selling. So when you have 8 and you have 12, just be prepared to address that. And also, does there need to be a time that you want to review this again? I don't know, Shauna. Should there be a time on there that they want to review or not? Is that
He
not
indicated a
necessary?
90-day report. That's what we would do.
I'm sorry, you said,
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
That doesn't mean the ordinance ends there. You're enacting an ordinance
Right.
until you don't have it anymore, but staff's been directed to provide
Yep.
a report in 90 days. And as this is written, this becomes effective upon passage tonight.
All right, so tomorrow we can start enforcement.
We will, yes.
All in favor, raise your hand. See 4, against? 2 against, 1,
Oh, I'm against.
3
I'm
against.
sorry.
The motion passes.
So what was the vote? 5-3?
4 to
Ann's
3.
not here.
Ann is not here.
Ann's not here. Alderman Peterson's not here.
Could have deferred it.
Number 11, this is a public hearing. Consideration ordinance 2013-03, an ordinance to amend various chapters and sections of the City of Franklin zoning ordinance to clarify requirements and correct minor textual errors. Anyone want to address this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Oh, wait a minute, we're on 11.
So moved.
Yes, no.
Appropriate motion? Is there a second?
Yes, no, what is that?
Well, I was trying to get my amendment ready, I was still.
Well, you can amend my motion.
Okay, I second with an amendment.
Okay?
Thank you, sorry.
Okay.
You're more than welcome.
Go
I
ahead.
move to amend ordinance 2013-03 by removing section 5, the section pertaining to temporary signs, to staff and the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission for additional discussion and refinement.
Is there a second to the
Second.
amendment? Appropriate.
Second.
Second? We have a second.
Oh,
Comments on the amendment?
I'm starting to feel the same about temporary signage as I feel about street vendors. And I'm not saying that for a laugh.
We know you aren't.
It's, I mean, if you want to laugh, that's fine, but these temporary signs, the gaping hole in our signage ordinance is being exploited, and the exception is beginning to litter the rule, literally. I mean, I'd like to have the green fence stake vendor gig in this town, because they're everywhere. And we have extensive ordinances on a number of aesthetic issues, some of which, you know, I mean, we've set ourselves apart. And, you know, I don't love them all, but you know when you get to Franklin, and then we have these things. And I don't know how you begin to regulate them and start parsing through what's temporary. I mean, we had the gentleman in who said he could go out and he could issue warnings and then put people on the clock and know how. That just seems like a lot of effort that we don't owe anyone. So as staff and as this conversation continues, don't be afraid to recommend that we just do away with temporary signage. I'm okay, I think I'd be okay with that.
Ready to vote on the amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next on the motion as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 12, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2013-06, an ordinance to rezone 1.08 acres from civic and institutional to central commercial for the property located at 510 Columbia Avenue. Anyone want to address this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Appropriate motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 13, consideration of resolution 2013-11, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the City of Franklin's employee pension plan providing a cost of living adjustment to the monthly benefit for retired recipients.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pass. I pass.
So it passes 6 with 1 abstention.
Abstain.
You got an interest in that one, Ms. Martin?
2.3%.
Number 14, consideration of ordinance 2013-11, an ordinance amending the table of organization for Franklin Fire Department, establishing a public hearing, date of March 26, 2013.
So move.
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Let's go. From executive session, were there any matters in executive session that need to be considered at the meeting? Vice Mayor.
I move that that the city approve an additional $515,000 plus up to but not to exceed $5,000 for discretionary costs to settle the condemnation matter involving the Pickering family.
Second.
Appropriate motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Leave.